Hello and welcome into the Camel Call Podcast. I'm Chris Hemeyer alongside Evan Budrovich and Lendl Suggs. We are getting set for the 2025-26 Campbell Athletics season, and I cannot believe that it is here. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are new to this, the Camel Call Podcast, you will get a lot under this umbrella. Of course, the Tales from the Creek, Stan Cole, who has been here at Campbell through 4 decades. He comes in and visits with some of the legends, coaches, student athletes. You will get that every couple of weeks. We will fill in the blanks with our Camel Call Podcast when we get you caught up with everything Campbell Athletics. This is your one-stop shop, and in between as well, we'll have Camel Call Live. And speaking of, our first Camel Call Live episode of the year comes on our first football game week. It'll be August 26th, a special Tuesday night at Napper Tandy's in downtown Angier from 6:30 to 7:30. We'll visit with the coach, Braxton Harris. That first week of the season, Campbell is on the road, but they are on the road on a Friday night, so having to switch some things around with the travel on Thursday. We have a lot more to talk about athletics-wise, but of course, we left you with the cliffhanger the last time we were on this podcast. We were talking about Evan Budrovich and almost a dad and now officially a dad. Tell us how everything is going, Dad.
So for the class of 2043, if you guys are ready for the next future Hooper,
Lord.
Ruby Lee is starting to get some. So we went to the bookstore this summer and ran into Ronnie Fisher the day we went to the bookstore. So Ronnie was talking about recruiting and his freshman, whatever. And I was like, hey, you got a spot saved for Ruby, right? In 18 years. He's like, yeah, she can join the team. So I'm just putting that out there so the world knows that she's on scholarship. She's almost 3 months old now. And Chris, you had the twins in 21, and that season was crazy for many reasons. But, man, it changes your life, Lendl. Yeah. Take the time when you're ready. But, oh, my gosh, the diaper changes, the blowouts, the adventures. And this week we moved Ruby from the bassinet to the crib.
Yeah.
So this week she's been sleeping by herself in her bedroom at 2 months, and that's kind of scary.
It is.
She figured it out, and she's been a trooper.
It is milestone after milestone. You learn to be very, very efficient. And before you're like, man, I can't believe I had all of that time, because you definitely do it. And I know you guys are doing great. So we can't wait to have her on the podcast coming up once she learns how to talk. It goes by quickly, like as they say. What goes by quickly is the summer these days, too. We had so much going on here at Campbell this summer. Our new president, Dr. William Downs, who hit the ground running. Huge sports fan. We will be hearing a lot from him as well.
Yeah. This man just came in 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
He's got a million ideas. He's super passionate. He loves Campbell. And he wants to beat NC State, his alma mater.
Yeah.
That's a big game. Him and President or Chancellor Howell at NC State, they were classmates together in the School of Education. Like, he is all about beating the Power Fours. Gardner-Webb almost beat ECU 3 years ago. It was like a one-score game. He has those games circled on his calendar for tailgates. He's going up to Hampton this year for a tailgate. Like, he is all in on football and everything else.
Yeah, it is a perfect segue into football. Of course, single game tickets for everything but homecoming on sale now. If you want a ticket to that homecoming game versus New Hampshire on October 18th, you can get it as a part of the season ticket plan. Season tickets still available. You can get a part of the mini plan as you will get a couple of the big games that we have coming up at the beginning of the year in September, and that homecoming is included. So if you want your homecoming ticket, those are the way to get it. But tickets for everything else, all single game tickets on sale now. Again, this year, kids 12 and under are free with a paid adult in select sections in Barker Lane Stadium. It's the best deal in town. Go to gocamels.com, hit tickets, go to the schedule page for all your information. And speaking of that schedule, we're going to say this ahead of time so you can't say, hey, you're kind of switching things and trying to steer the narrative. Lendl, this is not only the best home schedule that Campbell has ever had in terms of name opponent, in terms of ranked opponents, in terms of anticipation. When you look at the overall schedule, it's the quote-unquote best, but also the toughest schedule in the nearly 20-year history of Campbell football.
Yeah, I mean, you go down the schedule and it's just a list of who's who. You know, you're starting on the road at Rhode Island right now, who's ranked a whole lot ahead. I believe they're in the top 10 in the FCS so far this season. And then right off of that, you know, you've got the state game. You've got the games at home. We're talking Western, Furman. These are big name opponents that draw people, and these crowds travel well. So it's going to be. We know last year was kind of the litmus test with how the team would react to a new coaching staff and how things would kind of move forward in the Braxton Harris era. But he's going to be really, really tested here in year number 2. So it's going to be exciting, the team that they've put together, and kind of see how that translates into another year under this new regime too.
In the transfer portal era, preseason rankings can be fickle, right? Hard to figure out who's who, certain teams lose starters. The one good news out of this, 5 ranked teams in the preseason, we only play 1. In terms of the CA. So there are, we talk about how it unfolds, how it slates. The Rhode Island game is probably the toughest FCS game on the schedule. You get them week 1. The 3 straight home games we've seen in the past, Campbell's had success in those streaks. And I love adding the Elons, the continuous home and road series, the A&T. You play William & Mary here, a team we've been tight with the last 2 years. And then at Towson. That's a revenge game to end the year. It's like, last year's schedule had a brutal end of the year.
Yeah.
This year's schedule has a tough first 4 games. It kind of flips, which I think can lead to more success down the road.
No, absolutely.
No, I was going to say, too, if you kind of look at this schedule compared to last year, the storytelling of this year as you go down it is really spectacular. You know, you have Western this time. Can you compete again? Can you knock them off? Of course, they're coming in for blood, but this time you're on your own home turf. And then, of course, homecoming game is the way it is. Furman was really, really good last year. They were a really good football team. And then, of course, it's kind of the revenge game or the keep up of the in-state or the local rivalries in the CAA.
Yeah, and both of you guys make excellent points, but I like yours, Evan, because this is a tough schedule from top to bottom, but it certainly is it is front loaded. And if you get to the middle of the season and maybe Campbell's record is not where you thought it would be, you got to remind yourself that the final 6 games of the year, including 3 at home, are all conference games. And regardless of what your record is, overall or in conference, you have an opportunity in those final 6 games to win a bunch of games, make it to the FCS playoffs for the first time. And look, after those first 6 games of the season, you are not going to play tougher teams than you did in that first 6. There are some very tough teams there, but again, remember, the goal is to get to the FCS playoffs, make it to nowhere that Campbell has made it before, and this has a back end of the schedule where it will still all be in front of you after that October 4th game at NC State.
Think of Stony Brook last year. Billy Kosh, the 32-year-old coach. They were picked 13th in the league and were the last 4 teams out of the playoff. They went 8-3 and overall, I think 6-2 in the league. Like, that's the path. If you look at Campbell and say, hey, here's where they start. They have a winnable schedule. Here's where they get to. And then I love the bye week, the John Anderschek bye week at the start of hoop season. So you get a whole week to watch the men on the road at these Power 4 opponents. Then you dive in for the last 3-game stretch with William & Mary and crew to end November.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
I think, too, if you're looking at the schedule, bring everybody back down to earth just a little bit, not to be a party pooper, but I think if this team doesn't make the playoffs this year, a successful season is a winning season for this group, no matter what, because there's no cupcake in the schedule. I mean, in years past, you might look at maybe a Hampton, or if you look at A&T's team last year, who wasn't really that good, you kind of say, all right, you know, we kind of pencil these wins in on the schedule, but there is no pencil in wins on this schedule. Every win is going to be hard earned and fought for. And if this football team can do it, it will be a really good thing moving forward for them.
One nugget and a blast from the past. So New Hampshire, they're a great soccer program. Friend of the podcast, friend of Campbell, Stuart Horn, former women's soccer coach. He's now the associate head coach of the New Hampshire women's team. I don't know if he's coming down for the trip to Bowie's Creek, but he was a photographer. He lived in Fuquay. He was neighbors of Charles Phillips. Like, he loved Campbell till his final days. So if you want some homecoming storylines, the Cats are coming to town for homecoming.
Yeah, no doubt. We will welcome back Stuart Horn. But as Lendl was saying, too, year 2 of Braxton Harris, you remember how late everything's got going last year. For him to take down a top 25 team, for him to be competitive in a lot of those games, that was a win because there were people on that team that probably and are not on the team this year. I say probably and are not on the team this year because of a fit of many different levels, some on the field, some off the field. This is really his first year where he has all of his guys that have bought in from top to bottom. Again, it's a total rebuild that Braxton Harris had to come in and do. So I think, too, after all of that is said, this could be a much better team. But because of the toughness of the schedule, the record may be similar. But then on that other hand, boy, there are some opportunities to make a splash again. Look, you do not want to take on a top 10 team in the nation on the road, especially a Rhode Island team who is picked to win the CAA. But if you do have to play them on the road, play them on the first game of the season on a Friday night, they do not have much tape on a lot of the people that are going to be out there playing for Campbell.
We don't have much tape on the guys playing for Campbell.
And the same thing. That's why we're not going position by position just yet. We'll get there, you guys, but we're not going position by position because there's so many new pieces. It's a Rhode Island team that this replaces a Richmond game, as Richmond was a CAA football-only member, just like Rhode Island is, so they had to flip things around, which is why we're going to Rhode Island for the second straight year. But those that are returning for Campbell, you know the stadium, you know the atmosphere, you know how the travel is going to be. So you're going to be as comfortable as you can on the road against a top 10 team. Then you go on the road to at ECU, which I will say it is a really fun game. There's a Campbell section. There is a ticket link on there. We're going to have a big tailgate from there with the FCC. We're also going to go up there and get a big check. Then we come home, and it's Furman, Bryant, and a top 20 ranked Western Carolina team. Furman was ranked in the top 25 for most of the year last year. In between that stretch of 3 straight home games, you take on a Bryant team, another football-only member of the CAA, which you have on paper, a decent chance of matching up with. So there are those 5 games where you're probably going to be favored in only one. But if you beat any of those teams, boy, that's already going to go on the top of the list and probably your best win of the year.
And you know what, too? The factor that we didn't consider is how any one of these teams could be ranked by the time we get to them. It is true that it's possible for Furman to be ranked by the time we play them. And, William and Mary flirts with the top 25 every year. So it could be one of those situations where they didn't come out in the preseason, but because of the institutions and the coaches that are there that are really, really good and the programs that they have built, it is really possible that we see another year with 5 or 3 or 4 ranked opponents during the season.
And it's our last swing at William & Mary before they move to the Patriot League, right? And there's a rivalry between those schools. They've been very competitive. There's ties with the programs. And academically, there's some alignment. Like, that's a game that's always been interesting because both teams play their best in that game. And we haven't had them here yet, so an opportunity to really get revenge before they leave for another league.
Yeah, and that's a second half of the season where it just falls out in a way. Again, it's very, very tough, but there are some opportunities to really raise some eyebrows. It'll be a lot of fun. Plenty of opportunities we'll have here on this podcast to talk to Coach Braxton Harris, but your first chance this season to meet the coach, hear from him. He'll have so much to say. Tuesday, August 26th at Napper Tandy's from 6:30 to 7:30. We'll broadcast that live, and then in the next day, we will have a recording of that live show right here on the podcast as Campbell goes to number 9 Rhode Island, a special Friday night, 6 p.m. broadcast. Lendl and I will bring that to you on GoCamels.com and the Varsity Network. We're having a Campbell Football Fan Fest presented by the Fighting Camel Club. It is coming up on Saturday, the 23rd. You will get a chance to watch the team at practice. Afterwards, of course, get autographs. There will be a lot of fun there. 3:30 is the start time for that on Saturday, August 23rd. We'll have a lot more information for you on GoCamels.com for all of those events. We're talking a lot about American football. But for football, our men's and women's soccer team, they start up this week. Again, soccer schedules in college are something else. The women's soccer team just got here on campus a couple of weeks ago. They have already had 2 scheduled exhibition games, and they will get after it coming up as this airs. They are just about to play or will have already played their first match of the season at Queen's University in Charlotte, but they will be at home to start the season on August 17th. We hope to see you out there at 5 p.m. as they take on North Florida. And I think with both the soccer teams, and we're going to talk to both soccer coaches coming up later on in the podcast, but exciting. These soccer teams that have had to adjust to a big level up, going to the Big South, to the CAA in soccer. There are some really, really good soccer programs, some historic programs, and both of these teams were just one goal away from making it to the CAA tournament last year, and they have reloaded and are ready for another good one.
So I give Jeff Gross credit. One, the schedule is brutal to start the year. High Point, a reigning Big South champ, Coastal Carolina, reigning Sun Belt finalist, and Virginia Tech, who's a top 25 borderline team every year. To get those programs here in the first week when you have students, and like that's going to be an awesome atmosphere, one. Two, I saw him at the Downs Ice Cream Social, new president first week, and, Jeff's very matter-of-fact, and he said, this freshman class likes each other. We haven't had that as much in the Jeff Gross era, in his words. He thinks the cohesion's better. He thinks the chemistry's better, especially in that sport. It's not always the superstar Jessica Donalds of the world that win you games. You got to have a good midfield, good goaltending. He thinks this group can be better positioned in a north-south format where only 3 teams out of 6 make the playoffs in each division. You play your William & Marys, your Elons, your Hamptons. You're in a side of the bracket now where you beat your local teams, you make the playoffs. So there's different ways to get in the years past, which I think helps Campbell in both soccers moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think the north-south format really benefits both soccer programs because you obviously the travel is less, the footprint is a little bit less, but you are more prepared for, I would say, the drastic weather change that happens from August to September and feeding off the travel and different things like that, the jet lag, and then students are getting into class and those things. But I also like the fact that playoffs now have a different feel to them because of the north-south rivalry. Before, you never know who you're going to get, and then you might have to get on a plane and then travel all the way up the north or all the way up the coast. Now it's kind of a different feel because everyone kind of is getting to, all right, we know who we're going to play. It's kind of in the footprint, and it just bodes better for both teams.
So Lendl, great point, because the women have one trip. It's to the reigning champ, Stony Brook. They go to Stony Brook Hofstra with their new lion on top of a lion logo, which is kind of cute. It looks like Pixar. But then they end the year with 5 of 6 at home against all the regional teams that can push them into the playoffs. Where in the past they've started slow and are chasing points and need to win and win convincingly. Now you kind of play a schedule where you can get hot at the end and get into that top 3 of the North and the South, and then you're in the playoff.
Yeah, and then of course too, there's the factor of, unlike every other sport, there's no neutral site for this one. So if you are really good in the regular season, you have a chance of hosting the tournament and getting the game on your own home field. So I think the litmus test or the measuring stick that we probably want to use for both soccer teams is how well they play at home this season. We saw last year, and we can go into the men with this one. We saw last year the Fonder's club really played well at home. It was on the road where they kind of struggled a little bit, or they had too many close games and just couldn't get the right amount of points that they really needed. But if they bode well at home, especially with the way that the women's schedule is set up and the way that the men's schedule is set up, we could see our soccer programs take another step. We saw what they looked like in the first year in the CAA and in the second year in the CAA. But now we're kind of looking at, okay, we kind of understand this thing a little bit better now and the talent that we need. So I really expect them to get, I wouldn't be surprised if if not both clubs made the postseason this year.
Absolutely. And our men's soccer team will open up the regular season here at home on August 21st. So next week, this weekend for the women, the home opener on the 17th, men's soccer on the 21st. Women's soccer will be back at home against the old Big South rival High Point on the 28th as well. Of course, we got a lot more fall sports to talk about, and we will do that in a couple weeks as our volleyball team, cross country, they will all get things going the final weekend of the month.
Hey Camel fans, this is Braxton Harris, and I've got one question for you. Are you ready for game day? Well, get your game face on because Campbell's 2025 football season is here. We're bringing the energy, the grit, and the passion, and we want you to be right there with us. But hey, Game day is just the beginning. You want to make a real impact? Then it's time to step up and join the Fighting Camel Club. Being a part of the Fighting Camel Club means you become the team behind the team, fueling scholarships, training, and academic success for not just our football athletes, but all 21 of our sports. When you join, you're not just a fan, you're a game changer. So what do you say, Camel Nation? Let's make a difference together. Join the Fighting Camel Club today and help us build champions on the field, in the classroom, and beyond.
Another big story that has been buzzing around the campus this summer, and it's the men's basketball schedule. Of course, Coach John Anderschek, coming from as an assistant at national champion Florida, he knows how valuable it is, even if you're not a Power 4 or a major university college basketball team, to play those teams. And so you want to talk about the toughest schedule in football history. It's going to be the toughest schedule in Campbell men's basketball history, as Campbell in the non-conference, these are the big-time programs that they're going to play. Open up the year at Wisconsin. They will play Penn State or West Virginia later that week. Also on the schedule, Penn State, Minnesota, Gonzaga, and Wake Forest. 6 huge, huge games, which, again, as we have talked about for a long time, especially in some of the sports in the CAA that are a one big bid league like men's basketball, it's all about getting ready for conference play.
Yeah, and I think, too, because we expect this team to really blossom and succeed at some point, when you start to be successful, people stop paying you to come. So get all the games and all the money that you can now.
You're right.
Before you get really, really, really good. And then when you get really good, nobody is paying Charleston to come in because there's a chance that you can lose. Nobody's paying UNCW to come in. So the patience that we're going to have with this team this year is not because the coaching staff doesn't know what they're doing, but we have to consider all the factors of new coaching staff, whole new guys, new philosophy, new mentality, and all of these games that essentially are supposed to be losses on the schedule. Quite frankly, they're not paying us for them to come beat them. But the patience that we have to have with this club is going to show where the fan base really is for the next 2 years or 3 years when the success starts to roll in. And so I'm excited about the schedule because it increases the digital footprint of kind of what Campbell looks like and spreads that across the nation and gets eyes back to the university. But if they play well for 3 quarters, if they play well for a half, the name starts to buzz of what Campbell is doing down in Bowie's Creek, and eyes start to shift here again.
How about this? So if you add the Big East, that's a powerful, I consider them a Power 5 of basketball.
Yeah.
In the Kevin McGeehan era, 13 games against Power 5 opponents. 6 in 1 year speaks to not only the confidence in himself, but the revenue generation part of it. Paying for NIL, paying for expenses, getting the brand up to Gonzaga, getting the brand to Wisconsin. When was the last time we traveled to Wisconsin for a game? Playing a local team as well, Wake Forest. There's recommendations of playing a North Carolina Power 4 team every year. That's part of the rotation now. And for fans, the understanding that I now have a better idea who my team is the first week. I see them week 2, week 3 at home. I build their name recognition on the road on Peacock or on ESPN or even on ACC Network. That stuff matters from a university standpoint, right? It aligns with the CA. It aligns with the stylistic of play. It's more up-tempo. It's a pace that people can better understand. All of that just shows me that John knows what he's doing. He has a plan, and it's already playing out in year 1.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the team will look like. I think the tougher competition really kind of simulates what you'll see in the CAA. To keep it frank, there are 2 teams at the top. It's UNCW and it's Charleston.
They are the poachers.
Yeah.
Have you seen them just coming in, taking best player here, best player there?
Exactly. And they are at the top, and it's kind of everyone else fighting in the pecking order. It's really a wide open race, 3 through 13 or whatever it is. But I'm excited to see what this team looks like in this era and how the style of play will benefit them more than anything else.
Yeah, no doubt. And coming full circle, much like the football team, if you get sharpened in non-conference and you won't find anything better in conference, it's really, really going to
the creek
help
is
you.
flooding right now.
Yeah.
Film this podcast.
As you can hear, as you can hear on that, the rains have opened up, but I'm sure it'll be fine for next week as we open soccer. Speaking of soccer, in his 4th year, Jeff Gross really, really likes this team. His team will be on the field coming up this Sunday. We caught up with Jeff earlier this week. Jeff, you've got the first home match of the season coming up this Sunday, 5 o'clock at Eakes Athletic Complex here at home back in Bowie's Creek. Already a draw on the road from earlier in this week at Queens, and we were just talking about it. You saw so many positive things about this team that you really thought highly of coming into the season.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of indicators in the spring that the players that were here were starting to turn this into a different standard. And it started with their fitness training in the summer, because when we come back, we do a fitness assessment. And, most times the fitness assessment we do, I'd imagine most teams hover around 30 as their average, maybe less. And our team average was 38, which is pretty ridiculous for a 28-player roster at a mid-major level. So we knew there were some indicators that we had some kids that are pretty focused on what they want to do with all this. So they came back prepared. We had a really good preseason, in my opinion. Always tough. This. We talk about it almost every time we get together. Like, we're on campus, and then, 7 days later, we're playing an exhibition game, which is not nearly enough time to prepare them. But, we got into the Queens game last night, and I told the team there's probably going to be 2 distinct advantages. Your fitness level is very high, and our depth is very good. And that played out last night. I challenged them with 2 things we won't know is what's your quality going to be like and what's your grit going to be like. And they proved both of those. The quality was really good last night, and the grit was very much there. And, this group is going to get better in the games. We'll work in practice, but this is a pretty talented group. They're just going to have to get better playing the games. And we were just slightly off on several different things, and going into the other opponents, going into their box to score. We were really close to winning the game last night. So very encouraged.
This is a team, again, here in your 4th year. You've been able to build this team in your own image and what you want Campbell soccer to be about. And it's got to be encouraging that you have so many people kind of fighting for playing time here.
Yeah, I think it starts with Campbell. You have to understand what Campbell's about, and then you try to find, young women that can relate to that, who also can play the way we think the blueprint should be laid out. And I just think we have a collection of young women that get Campbell, and it makes sense to them. And, they're here for their degree first, and they're all very focused on that. 3.55 GPA at the end of last spring is really good for a leverage team, right? And, it starts with that. And then, I think, me and my staff do a really good job of identifying the right type of people, the right type of players. And it's a team full of kids with really good character who truly enjoy playing. There's a lot of people that I think play college sports and they don't truly enjoy playing. They're working their way through it. But this is a group of kids that truly enjoy playing. So we've got a little bit of a good problem on our hands that we might have. I got to figure out how to keep them all engaged in playing. But we're working through a rotation, and now we're going to play the players over 2 games at a time that I think will make a lot of sense to the players once they see it. And then if they all buy into it, which I think this group will do, I think we'll be able to progress pretty well.
You mentioned and give credit to your coaching staff, which you always do. A new member of the coaching staff you can tell us a little bit about, and then Todd Herman, who has been with you and helped build this program. You hear so many great things about him. So many great things about him. What makes Coach Herman special?
Oh, well, I don't think this podcast is going to cover that. Well, first of all, he's just a fantastic human being. Second of all, we're very similar. It's, put your head down and work. It's a process. You work through a process. You keep your head on straight the whole time. He's got an excellent soccer brain. I think I do too. The two of us, our discussions they're pretty cool to be a part of, actually, because you're just hearing these little nuances that you bounce off of each other. The players appreciate him, but they also respect him. He's a seasoned individual who's an assistant coach, so I think they understand like his value to them. He's highly organized. He's an excellent recruiter. We both fit hand in hand in that. But mostly he's just a really good man.
And then Coach Davies coming in and joining the coaching staff as well.
Yeah, Hannah is somebody who wants to coach. Like, that's the path she wants to take. And I think younger people who get into coaching, they might have a misunderstanding of what you actually have to do day to day. I think a lot of them think they want to come in and they're going to make a difference and they're going to coach and they're going to run practice sessions. And, some of that's true for some of them, but a lot of the work we do off the field is how we get to the field. And you have to be willing to grind through all of that, right? You know that your job is not strictly your job. You have to go outside your job description. We all do at Campbell. We all do in mid-major athletics. And because she wants to make it a career, she's very keen on trying to learn. And, she'll get her opportunities to grow into the coaching part of the craft as well, particularly in the spring is when I can let younger coaches work a little bit. But the players already have taken to her. I like her demeanor. She's very observant. And so when she has a comment to share, because we talk all the time as a staff, you can hear her she'll say something like, "Oh, that's a good little nuance that maybe Todd didn't catch on to, or I didn't catch on to." And that's what you want from a coaching staff.
Your schedule challenging as usual, and we could talk a little bit about that. I mean, I'm just looking at the first 6 games, and High Point, Virginia Tech, Coastal Carolina at NC State. I mean, that's enough strength of schedule for an entire year. We'll start with that first, and you can add this in if you want to. It's very unique. You've got 4 of your first 6 matches here at home, and then 5 of your last 6 at home. Talk about that. Talk about the challenge. Talk about the schedule that you've put together.
Yeah, I mean, I think players want to play in good games. I don't think they want to play easy games. I think they want to be challenged. And the only way you're going to grow a program, in my opinion, is you have to schedule boldly and you have to go play the games. That's the only way you can do it. And, that takes 3, 5 years, 6 years before the imprint really starts to kick in. And you have to go play good teams for players to learn. It's like we were talking to the team about it yesterday. It's like pro golf. When you watch pro golf and you see, either a male or female high-level pro golfer, when they haven't played in the final group before and then they play in the final group, now they have experience that's going to help them get to winning, right? If they win, perfect. Now you've gained experience. But a lot of times you don't win in those circumstances, and then you have to get back to it. It's the same thing with putting a team together to try to play college soccer. You need to get them in as many experiences as possible, and they might not quite pull it off initially. Like last night, we were the better team, in my opinion. We didn't quite win the game, but the next time this group is in that type of game, they'll be more comfortable with it. They'll be calmer. They'll breathe a little bit more. They'll play more to our identity. So when you get to play, Virginia Tech's coming to us. How cool is that we're going to, a top 20 team is coming to our campus.
Unbelievable,
right? And we have more teams that want to do that. I almost had Duke here on campus this fall. Clemson wants to come back after we played them last year. But then, these quote-unquote mid-majors, like you look at High Point is going to continue to get better. I think he does a really good job. Coastal is getting better every year. I think she's doing a really good job. Even Queens last night, like they're coming from Division II to Division I. You wouldn't have known that in the game. They were highly competitive, really organized. It was fun. It was a really fun game. So I think you got to go play as many good teams as you can, and then you got to peak at the right time in the conference if it's possible.
All these home games at the beginning and end of your schedule, from the outside looking in, a little bit of an advantage here?
I hope so. Chris, the CAA for women's soccer, it's top 2 or 3 mid-majors for women's soccer.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's incredibly competitive. We love that. So home game, away game, like they're all tight.
Yeah.
You know, I remember the Monmouth game last year. That was a great game to be a part of. Both teams had at each other. They had a kid who had a little bit more experience, pulled off a goal. We didn't quite stick ours. That's the CAA all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're gaining a fan base for women's soccer. We're starting to see more and more people that want to come watch us and support us, mainly because of the young women on the team. So you'd like to see Eeks continue to be a formidable place to play. But again, we're going to go play good teams all the time. You should pick up results at home, but you might drop one, and then you got to get on the road and you got to pick them up. So I'm hoping it's going to be an advantage, but when you play good teams, you just have to be at your best no matter where it is.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch as Campbell, the home opener this Sunday, August 17th versus North Florida. Then they'll be on the road at Radford, and these 3 matches we talked about: August 28th against High Point, August 31st versus Virginia Tech, September 4th versus Coastal Carolina, all at home. All these games free to the public. And we will also visit again with Jeff coming up in a couple of weeks on August 26th. He will be one of our guests at Camel Call Live at Napper Tandy's from 6:30 to 7:30. Jeff, thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you, Chris. Always appreciate being here.
That is Jeff Gross, head women's soccer coach here at Campbell. Campbell men's soccer team will begin the 2025 season here at home against Davidson on Thursday night. And to talk about not only that, but the entire season and give us a preview is head men's soccer coach Dustin Fonder. And Coach, first off, give us a little bit of insight into what squad you've put together for this year.
Yeah, I think we're transitioning right now due to a lot of factors. I think the NCAA landscape has changed the way college athletics looks at a mid-major level. So we're trying to figure out how to adapt to that. So it's a really transitioning time for us. And I think you can have growth during that time. So that's what we're hopeful for is where we start is not where we finish, and we grow throughout the season.
That's it, isn't it? It seems with this new landscape, you're dealing with a lot of different faces on the roster, trying to keep players, trying to get players. How do you keep track of it all? How do you keep going, and how do you able to get a competitive squad out there?
Yeah, we just try to roll with the punches. You know, I think there's challenges, but we've got a staff that's motivated to try to get Campbell soccer back to where it was. We're close, but we've just, we're taking steps each day and each week to try to get better. And I think, like anything, the landscape's not going to stay this way forever. And we're hopeful that with the new leadership of Dr. Downs, better days are ahead. So if we can just keep this thing ticking over, then we get a shot in the arm maybe in 2026, 2027. We don't know when it's coming, but we're all hopeful that day will come and we can go back to the top of the conference and be one of the teams to be reckoned with nationally.
When you look at this year's team, what are you excited about when you see the guys that you have out there?
They're young and they're hungry and it's a positive energy about the group. Sometimes being young can make you a bit naive, but naive can be good because you don't fear opponents. You go in and think you can beat them, and sometimes that's a good thing. Might not be a real confidence, but the bravado is there, and we can kind of go into a game and give ourselves a chance. I think it'll be a team that has really good pace and transition. Right now, we're just trying to shore up defensively so we don't leak goals. I think we're going to be able to score goals, so we really got to focus on defending so we can stay in games. And hopefully, when we do score, it's to go in the lead, not to play catch up.
Is there any names to look out for, guys that are either new to the squad or guys that are coming back that you think will make an impact and people will notice?
Yeah, I think the conference kind of addressed Felipe Matos and Evan Zdapa as kind of preseason award winners. We're looking for those guys to have big seasons, but we've got some other guys like a senior, Ethan Roberts. I think this is going to be a breakout year for him. We got good leadership out of Jake Roberts in the back. We think Lillian Fischel is going to show good growth this season. And then we got some newcomers that we think will surprise, and we're looking forward to seeing like Danny Santos Rosa be a factor on the right side of the field.
You mentioned how when you got here, Ed Campbell had to totally rebuild the program, and then all the success that you have had and continued to have. What has really been fun over the past couple of years is, along with highlights from you guys, current Camels, there's highlights of guys playing all over the world professionally, playing domestically. It's got to make you proud to know that there are guys getting paychecks after playing Campbell men's soccer.
Yeah, we're very proud of that. We've got a pro wall in our hallway with jerseys hanging. And just the other day, Moses Mensah stopped by. He was on a professional break and came back to Campbell to say hello and encourage our current players. So it's neat that we have that bond between past and present, and we want to continue to grow that.
Tell me a little bit about your family that we've gotten to know so well. How is the Fonder crew doing?
The crew's doing well. My wife's occupational therapist. She's working up in Fuquay. We've made the move to Fuquay for my daughter, and we're adjusting well. Living in Wake County, going to Wake County schools. My daughter's actually a junior now. Wow. Moved here. She was in kindergarten. So time flies. She'll be going to college soon. And my little one, he's got a love for the game. So he's playing soccer for NCFC, and I'm enjoying getting to go to his practices and his games.
And that's awesome. That is head coach Dustin Fonder. That will do it for this first of the 25-26 Camel Call edition for Evan and Lendl. I'm Chris saying so long, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.